Ed, you probably have an approach for a multitude of different types of customers. Share with us what's your sales approach for different types of customers.
Well, first off, I would say I no longer have a sales approach with customers.
Okay.
Again, probably that sweet spot of 5 or 6 years ago, I quit trying to figure out how to sell to people. I really did.
Right.
I think some of that stuff that we teach in sales school is great, but at the end of the day, it's identifying why and how people buy.
That's right.
So you get into that reverse engineering process, right? And we can go through all these silly sales process steps that we talk about in class, or we could identify the customer and say, okay, at the end of the day, I want that person to buy. So I will look at that person in a totally different light versus not how to sell to them, but what's going to influence them to buy from us. And if it's a 30-year-old millennial, I'm thinking about how would my son maybe buy? If it's an 85-year-old, I'd be thinking about my dad. If it's another 50-year-old, it might be the way my brother might buy or something. But approaching it that way versus, okay, here's what I've got to do to sell them. They're going to buy. How do I reverse engineer it and bring it backwards and say, here are the steps that I would have had to have gone through for them to say yes. And particularly when you deal with commercial buyers, right? You may have a couple extra commercial buyers in there, but I think oftentimes we get so stuck in our processes that we're going to do this, then this, then this, then this, that we lose sight of how people buy.
Sure.
Think about it. If you're talking to a single parent, they're going to buy a little bit different, right? So try to reverse engineer it, I think, rather than try to figure out how I'm going to go sell this one. How are they going to buy at the end of the day? Because we could do all the selling we want, but if they don't buy, we're not going anywhere. So again, trying to find folks and just looking at them and saying, okay, so they buy, how did it happen? And then reverse engineering it versus going through this silly process of step by step by step, showing up at the house and hitting them with the greetings and then going to the outside and starting on the left front corner, all that kind of stuff. I've thrown all that out the window over the past, certainly the last 5 years, maybe longer. I focus now on how people buy versus how we sell to them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.